I'm Rye Charters, owner of Kal-Tone Musical Instrument Company. I've been a professional guitar maker for the past 22 years, mainly here in Kalamazoo, and Caltone is the latest incarnation of my craft, as that was started in 2014. We're in the old Star Brassworks building. So this building was built about 100 years ago. So when we moved in here, it was pretty bare bones. There wasn't a lot here. None of these walls were here. This is a big, wide open space. So we were able to kind of build it to suit, which was great because guitar making, you kind of need a good division of areas. You need a clean area, a dusty area, paint area. In this kind of room here, we've got repair happening, and then we've turned the old vault into our buffing room. Since 2014, we've grown a bit. Instead of just being a 1 or 2 person shop, it's now a team of people that handles repairs, pickup making, electronics, amplifier repair, some retail, in addition to the guitar making that we do. And everyone kind of floats around and contributes very equally down here. This is where we do most of the repair work. We also do kind of final setup on the guitars that we build. That happens over here as well. So we've got 4 workstations, so we usually have a flurry of activity going on over here. Here we are in the sandbox, and currently this is where we do our amplifier repairs, and we also store customers' instruments over here as well. We call it the sandbox because this is literally where they would store all of their sand for the foundry. The train would run right through there, and this room was just piled eye high with sand for the most part. And they use that in the casting process. A year ago at this time, this was our retail space. So that was the front door of Caltone, and you would pop in and we had strings and all of our retail products over here. And then we would also, probably about once a month, have a live music performance over here.
Yes, I hate to see the evening sun go down.
With our team in place and them taking a lot of the load off with customer service and day-to-day work, lately my focus has been on setting up production and using some new technology and techniques to increase the volume of our sales and work up new designs, and that's been extremely satisfying. Whenever possible, we start from board lumber, and that'll get basically chopped down into smaller pieces on the radial arm saw, our band saw and thickness sander, just basically taking big pieces and making them into smaller, littler pieces. When we make a neck, we'll start off with a big chunk of wood and we'll nest the profile out of that. We have a lot of various little jigs and tools that we can set up with and do these precise cuts and operations with. Our newest offering is the Edison, named for the neighborhood here in Kalamazoo where we make the guitar. Over the years, I've mainly built one-off custom guitars, and that really hasn't been until recently that I've kind of set myself to have a standard production model that the employees can make instead of just me hacking out a really intricate, involved custom guitar. We have something that's standard, that's repeatable. So we can try to help bring the price down for people and also just have guitars available. This is actually the first Edison guitar that we built. This is our first prototype, and before we go cutting into a $100 chunk of African mahogany, we make that out of 2x4 pine just to make sure our geometry is correct and everything, and see what areas we need to change, if any. And yeah. That was the function of this one, so this is the first one, little prototype. The Edison model is a very no-nonsense electric guitar. It's inspired by the Juniors that Gibson was making in the 50s and 60s. Something that's affordable, everything you need and nothing you don't type of guitar. This guitar features an African mahogany neck and body. We use USA-made Waverly tuners, bone nut. Fretboard is a 24.625 Granadillo fretboard with medium-wide frets. So we'll start with a kind of rough fretboard that's been radiused and we've drilled for the dots. And we've got a couple of holes on the bottom side of it. And those pin onto this jig. And then this jig, these holes index with the alignment pin. So we basically have our very thin 23 thousandths blade there, and we'll kind of run that through and just move it to the next fret position. And then that's how we, get our cuts for all of our frets, which is pretty critical, because if that fret is one, thousandths or two in either direction, that's going to make your tone sharp or flat. The two-way truss rod has an easy access spoke nut adjustable at the heel. Here's an Edison guitar, and that nut is all you see. And I like this truss rod because normally the truss rod is up here and you have to take off a plate and you have to cut out material where it's really good to have material. So this adjustment nut, you can basically just grab an Allen wrench or a small screwdriver, anything that fits in there, and torque it without having to fuss around too much with it. If you look at a neck here, there's only about 0.6, like 5/8 of an inch of thickness that's on the neck here. And then you have the fretboard, and that gets you to close to an inch of wood there. But at the same time, you have around 100 pounds of tension of the strings just pulling on this neck, and you can bend that neck with enough string tension. And so the rod inside of it is meant to counteract that. And if your neck starts to bend up and go concave like this, you would tighten that rod, and that rod pushes against it to straighten or put bow into and out of your neck. That's kind of one of the fundamentals of a good playing guitar, is having a nice straight neck. The body features a 5-ply pick guard with the word Edison engraved on the face. We use the Schaller Signum bridge, as it's extremely well contoured, low profile, very comfortable for the player's right hand. The guitar's electronics consist of a Filtertron pickup, which is made in-house here. The controls are master volume, master tone, and a series and parallel switch. Additionally, the master tone is a push-button switch that can bypass your guitar's controls completely for a little bit of increased volume. Historically, my guitars have started by drawing on 2D with pencil and paper. This is my first venture into 3D modeling. 3D modeling is a much more accurate design that allows for fine-tuning down the road. Once the model is complete, our guitar making begins in our climate-controlled workshop. The majority of our work is done on traditional woodworking machines, and we use a CNC mill for increased accuracy and precision. Everyone enjoys doing the work we do here because we're proud to be working in the tradition and carrying on the craft that was started here over 100 years ago. And we've always got one foot in the past and one foot in the future, especially when it comes to utilizing more modern technologies like CNC and 3D modeling. This really enables us to be more agile in terms of just functioning company, but we still take great pride and put all of our skill into our handwork and our hand skills and our old woodworking machines, because that's the essence of what we're doing, is handcrafting something, whether we have an assist from some technology or not. At the core of it, we work with our hands and we make things. The neck and body, we've got that machine, so we have to do very little amount of fitting. And the neck itself is actually at a 2-degree angle to the top, so that everything works out to the right height down here. This little bit eventually will get cut and shaved off. Now that our neck has been glued in, the next step is the truss rod. And then we've got our indexing pins so that everything clicks on and is in the right location that way. When we're gluing our fretboards on with our little special caul, rather than use a bunch of clamps, I started pulling out the old rope, and a lot of the old Spanish builders, I think, used rope quite a bit to just kind of, again, get around those odd contours. After the parts are fit and glued together, it's finished in-house in our spray booth. We use a thin, flexible finish to color and protect our instruments. Thin finish helps keep the feel of the wood as well as the vibrations happening. So right now we are in the old vault, which was original to the building, and this is where they kept all of the silver and everything. This was our storage area. We just recently converted into our buffing room. This is our finish buffing wheel, and that's basically to just put this high gloss onto the instrument finish. After finishing and the guitar has been buffed to a high gloss, we move into setup, where the high quality components are assembled. And then it gets its final adjustments to ensure that it's playing nice and easy and comfortably, and then it's ready for sale. The guitar itself hasn't evolved as an instrument necessarily that much relative to 100 years ago. From 1900 to 1950, it underwent huge leaps forward that are still tried to be replicated today. Insurgence of new materials, people are putting carbon fiber into guitars, or experimenting with different glues, and so on. So it'll be really interesting to see what materials have lasted 100 years from now and which ones have gone by the wayside. As I introduce more production models, there'll be a lot more elements from various sources put into one guitar, as opposed to the Edison, which is a fairly straightforward electric guitar. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, is more experimentation and trying to do more unique, creative endeavors. Been a pleasure to show you our workshop down here at the Jericho complex, and I hope you like seeing a sneak peek of our new Edison guitar. We really want to be of service to the musicians in Kalamazoo. We want to enable them to do their thing. There are lots of times that we get phone calls at Friday night for a show that's happening Saturday, and we do our best to help the customer whenever we can. It's a really great feeling to go watch someone play in public a guitar that you built from scratch or restored from not being functional anymore. That's how we like to contribute and feel like we're a part of the music environment in Kalamazoo especially.